Lucius, before transforming into a paladin, was technically stronger than Lucifero in terms of magic power, as he consumed 100% of his heart, and also has Astaroth's and his own talent, which is the best in the history of his family. Asta is overpowered. He's faster than a jet, more powerful than a ship, and stronger than a tank. Because of this, he can take part in fast-paced battles. Asta is scaling so high that he makes the paladins and angels look like a joke in comparison. Therefore, with Zetten, Asta has made the gap between them even smaller, as Zetten has increased his speed 100 times than what it was before. This allows him to kill paladins with ease, unlike other captains. For example, in chapter 360, Lucius states Sisgolion should have died instantly to Morris, and they are completely struggling in the current timeline, as without multiple sacrifices, they still wouldn't live. And Morris, frankly, isn't stronger than Sister Lily's paladin form. Why, you may ask? Well, she received Beelzebub, one of the 3 kings of Hell's full magic power, yet her spells of spatial magic and more cannot keep up with Asta's speed. Bear in mind, Zenon said he is the best and fastest spatial magic user in his fight against Yuno when Finral and Langris were helping out. This is important, as in Asta's initial fight with Lucius, he tries to predict his movements if you forgot, but he isn't fast enough and has a lapse of judgment like Ryu mentioned earlier. However, now with Zetten against Ichika, who scales at the level of paladins, and mind you also has a magic ability called Black Star, where we are told it creates vulnerabilities in any opponent. Asta was able to predict what was required of him to match her. This means his Zetten against Lucius will penetrate his defense and make up for his weaknesses, especially since we see in chapter 360 Yuno is able to damage Lucius's paladin form and kill him. He's getting faster too. He becomes so fast that Lucius thinks he must not be reading the future quick enough, but in reality it's all because of Asta's existence changing the entire timeline. So that means Asta's speed with Zetten of course has to match Yuno or be even faster to stand a chance. Therefore, proving again, Asta is moving thousands of times faster than light, as Yuno is instantly teleporting with his star magic and using his wind magic to pump his numbers up. However, let's move on to Asta's strength with Zetten. Firstly, keep in mind, Asta already scales at multi-continental level. Lucifero was so powerful that it was stated many times that his mere existence will be the end of the entire world. This scaling existed way before his manifestation, as Lich's demon was stated to have enough power to wipe out humanity, stated in chapter 1, and later on against Lumiere, the first wizard king, with just a single spell, Lich would obliterate the entire Clover kingdom if it was activated, in which Zagrid confirmed this, that there would be nothing left. Now if you're wondering, well, ABD, those are demons, so that doesn't count. Well, if we go even further back, such as Farna's Fire Spirit, volume 16.5's databook states that one swing from his talon has enough heat to dry up an entire ocean. This is enough power to destroy countries, as even the Atlantic Ocean in real life would require 239 petatons of TNT to completely evaporate it. However, funnily enough, Asta scales higher than Salamander with only his Black Asta form, as he defeated Ladros, who absorbed all of its power, having enough attack potency to break through his magic ability. I mean, he practically made Ladros cry. So as Black Clover's story continues, Asta's power level has to keep increasing to go way beyond these characters, as he can defeat all of them with ease, which makes sense of Ryu stating that Lucius will not only take over all the kingdoms, but even the Hino country. His level of power can take over the entire planet with ease, which only naturally means Asta's attack potency has to increase once again to stand a chance. This is why it makes sense that Zetten was introduced to increase Asta's power 100 times. From Jack's ultimate attack in chapter 357, we can see that he split the entire kingdom him in half, which destroyed an angel. But since we have established that Asta already scales thousands of times higher than other characters, it only goes to show why he is relied upon instead of him. For example, we were told Asta was the only one capable of destroying Lucifero's full manifestation, and even against the five-headed dragon, he was needed. Ryu hedged all of his bets on Asta being the only one capable of destroying all five heads at once. The only person that could possibly match Asta's Zetten would be Yasuga, but even then, his Zetten doesn't cut through magic itself, right? Which makes his abilities far weaker than Asta's anti-magic when paired up against the paladins. This means Asta's Zetten technically scales higher than the rest of the Ryuzen 7, making him the strongest Zetten user in the world. Even more evidence that Asta, before even unlocking Zetten, was pretty much capable of destroying entire countries. Just take a look at Dorothy's glamour world, which allows her to create her very own dimension, kitted out with stars and a freaking solar system. In fact, whilst Magna claims that Luck's statement of it being endless is impossible, Elf Dorothy does back him up, stating that in the glamour world, even the impossible is possible. Later on in chapter 184, it is confirmed that everything that is manifested in the world is structured physically and chemically the same way they are in the outside world. Yami, however, with his dimension slash, managed to destroy the world in just a single slice. This feat is not exclusive to just him either. As we know, Asta has based much of his fighting style off his sensei, to the point where he even replicated his Equinox spell that achieved this feat. Therefore, with his anti-magic and most definitely with his Zetten boost, Asta would annihilate Dorothy's entire glamour world, which is endless like it's freaking child play. However, this helps explain how Asta found it so easy to kill the five-headed dragon with one swing, casually splitting the sky across the entire Hino country in the process of using a Zetten boosted attack. As a result, he became a living legend, as he matched the feat of the person that created this ability in the first place, and everyone in the country witnessed him doing it as it went across the entire landmass. So putting things into perspective, you can clearly understand by now that Asta with his Zetten is more than capable of wiping the floor of every single magic knight and captain on his own, as they scale thousands of times lower than him. This is why Lucius confirms that in every single timeline, only Asta and Yuno stand a chance against him. Everyone else would die. By now, Asta has enough attack potency in his sword that can technically destroy countries and moon-sized planets in half. This swiftly brings us to his defense. Asta's Zetten has increased it even further, but let's take a look at where it was before he made it stronger. Against Lucifero, it was stated that a single attack from him would kill you, according to Yuno in chapter 322. Therefore, through deduction, Asta already gained the best feat in terms of durability against Lucifero in comparison to any other character. This is before Master Devil Union. Now, instead of one punch having the force to kill somebody, Asta tanks 4 heavy attacks before he was at death's door in comparison. Asta said that one punch did so much damage that it feels like he cannot move anymore and his eyes won't focus. This is similar to what Ichika achieved, a member of the Ryuzen 7, when she utilized her full blast Zetten on Asta in chapter 340, where he almost blacked out instantly and lost. This tells us how powerful Zetten is, that it's making a Ryuzen do a similar feat to Lucifero, the king of hell, as the power scaling keeps increasing. In fact, Ichika's feat is even greater because Asta had Master Devil Union at this point, and against Lucifero, he didn't. And must I remind you that Trash Pharaoh, when he faced Master Devil Union, Asta was tanking punch after punch without even having to flinch. He was pathetic. So thanks to Perfect Devil Union, Asta can now manifest anti-magic anywhere in his body, meaning that he himself is now the weapon. This basically makes him indestructible, as magic is now pointless before him him in this form. No matter how many punches Lucifer tries to land, thanks to Asta's buff body, he can take it all as the magic dissipates upon contact with him. However, since Zetten is a new power concept, when Ichika initially tests Asta, he states that his anti-magic is taking the edge of the attacks and blocks simple Yojutsu. So if it wasn't for this property of anti-magic, chapter 340 insinuates he would have been destroyed even sooner. On the other hand, after mastering Zetten, this is where the weakness in his armor disappears. In chapter 348, he destroys his weaknesses literally, not having to be afraid of anyone, including Lucius. Asta's weakness of physical attacks has subsided, and we know this because the paladin that faced him, Yorel, had enough power to claim that he would instantly die if Asta was touched. However, since he has increased every stat so high, he instantly reacts to him and counters, destroying him in one attack. So as I mentioned earlier, he handled Sister Lily with none of her spells doing any damage. Compared to the other captains and magic knights, you can see the difference yet again. Asta's Zetten serves as the perfect counter to Lucius' soul magic, as from what we've seen, it has the ability to reverse the effects of his magic. This further proves that Asta will be the one to defeat Lucius and become the Wizard King. Now guys, for you to understand the story overall, you need to watch the video on your screen, as Asta has affected every single timeline with just his very existence. Learn every moment by watching the next video.